Welcome to tonight's training on leaky gut, healthy gut, the brain and the gut connection. I really wanted to reach out because I think it's something that so many women are just brushing to one side, and there's so many different symptoms that we're not really addressing it. And I think it's really important that we do focus on what our underlying causes are when it comes to looking after our body. So healing leaky gut, or LGS, which is now abbreviated to, which is, it sounds so much better, doesn't it, LGS, than leaky gut syndrome. The moment you say gut, people tend to not have a very nice vision about it. But let's talk about it. The gut is literally our second brain. It's been researched over and over and over again that we have lots of neurons in there and lots of same receptors that we have in our brain, which is why it's called the second brain. I want to keep this as simple as possible for you guys so that I don't lose you, so that you stay focused, so that you understand what it's going on about, and take as many notes and ask some questions as well if that's what you feel that you need to do. So I want to just talk to you about how many people leaky gut is affecting and the reasons why. Before Christ, BC, Hippocrates, who was the Greek physician, already started to relate that any diseases, illnesses, and brain dysfunction all begin in our gut. So that's going back 2035 years ago, when he knew right there and then from his own studies and research that the diseases that we have in our bodies starts from the gut. So let me ask you if you've got any of these: food sensitivities, chronic pain, anxiety, depression, bloating, Crohn's disease, colitis, heart disease, cancer, depression, autism, ADD, ADHD, CFS, which is chronic fatigue syndrome, PMS, candida, high levels of cortisol, stress is a trigger for cortisol. All of these things are associated with leaky gut. Now that's just in brief, because there's over 100 autoimmune diseases, and the autoimmune issues are created from within our gut because it's the pathogen that carries it around. The reason it's called leaky gut is because the way that the gut is, it's meant to hold everything in, it's meant to be secure, it's meant to be safe, but what happens is it starts to get leaks in it and it starts to get holes in it. So what happens then is the bad bacteria that is within our gut starts to seep out and goes in through our bloodstream and gets into our cells in a different way. So that's why it's called leaky gut. So that's just on a simple basis. So let's talk about it a little bit more. If you have got any of those symptoms that I've just mentioned, please do let me know. So what's been recently found, I've got lots of notes here because I want to keep it brief, and I know that I do have a tendency to go off in tangents. So 80% of our microbiome is in our gut, so that's what keeps our body healthy. Our gut is also our immune system. That's where we keep everything strong, safe, healthy, and within our intestines. So our small intestines can get damaged, and that's when those particles, as I just said, start to seep out and go into our bloodstreams, and that's what affects the other issues, which is why it's a pathogen that affects the brain disease, depression, anxiety, ADHD, adrenal fatigue. So if you're feeling, there's a difference between the burnout, that's your mental state, and then the adrenal fatigue is when it's also, it can't function properly. Because when you look at the way that our organs are, we have our intestines, we have our stomach, we have our liver, we have our kidneys, and then you've got these adrenal glands, which are like tiny walnuts that sit on top of the kidneys, and if they are not functioning optimally, that's when other things happen. And usually it is all directly connected to how our gut is being treated and how it behaves. So another reason for leaky gut syndrome, LGS, is about how we absorb our nutrients, or are we in a nutrient malabsorption. So remember that I said you've got 80% of your bacteria is in your gut. So we want to make sure that it's keeping it healthy. And you know, probiotics can all help, but not if your gut is unhealthy. Because what happens with probiotics, minerals, vitamins that you take in, you're only going to absorb 10% of them anyway. So if you went out today and spent hundreds of pounds on what you think you might need, you would actually be wasting all of that money because you're not healing the actual problem first and foremost. Yes, they will help, but bearing in mind you're not going to actually be able to absorb those nutrients that you need to, because everything's leaking out and it's not working in its optimal functionality. So as I said, food sensitivities. If you have any of those issues that I've said, you have inflammation, you have bloating, you have gastric pain, you have trouble digesting certain foods, these are issues that can be healed and healed through by healing the gut. Also, another autoimmune issue, if I didn't say it before, I'll say it again, is thyroidism, hyperthyroidism, is one. So you've got hyper and hypo. Again, it's how is our gut accepting good and bad bacteria. You've also got an aspect of Hashimoto's as well, which is another thyroid issue. So if you've been in a process where you've been ill for some time, not necessarily now, you have the effects now and you have the symptoms now, but if last year, a year ago, 15 years ago, when you had children, if you had a cesarean, if you were prone to being poorly yourself and had numerous antibiotics or medications, pain relief, anti-inflammatories, all of these things aggravate the gut, and all of these things create an aspect of disease. Refined sugar, if you're overloading on that refined sugar, then that can trigger that autoimmune response where your body flares up and you're constantly in pain, and also causing lots of other issues like IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, or IBD, irritable bowel disorder. All of these things are directly correlated to how your gut is and your liver. So it's really about simple steps, and I'm going to give you 5 simple steps to follow. It's knowing what you have, what triggers you, what out of those hundreds, not hundreds, 120 actually at the last count, autoimmune issues do you potentially have? Is it the refined foods and the sugars that you're eating that triggers pain, that triggers distress, that triggers brain fog and lethargy? Is it foods, certain foods that trigger a gut reaction, that you have bloating and you have discomfort? Are those foods really inflammatory to you, creating lots of other different issues within your body? So knowing what it is, then removing it, then nourishing your gut from the lining. So it's like having, let me try and put this in the simplest of terms. Okay, here's the first thing that comes to my head. I'm sure you've all seen these new Nespresso beautiful glasses where they, you think you're gonna burn your hand, but you can put your hand on and they're heat resistant because they have an internal section where your coffee goes, and then you have the external section where you hold it and it's perfectly fine. So your gut is like that internal section that you don't want to burn anything else, you don't want anything else to get damaged, and you want it to stay strong and supportive. So what needs to happen is we need to make sure that that lining of the gut gets what it needs. It gets the nutrients that it needs. It gets the care and it gets the attention that it needs. Stress, if I haven't already mentioned it, is one of the biggest things that can affect your gut and affect the way that your health reacts to so many different things. It's a systematic response. So we need to focus on nourishing that and getting that lining really super clean and healthy, and literally scooping it on the inside and making sure that it has the health of the good bacteria, and it has what we call as gut flora and microbiomes, and all in there. It has the healthy probiotics. So probiotics and prebiotics, good, bad bacteria, they're both needed for growth and support. And what it is, when you have that, that's your foundation of building everything else. When your brain is clear, your gut's clear, because the messages can get back and forth to each other. So how do we rebalance the microbes and the probiotics? You need to remove all of the stuff. Now, sometimes that seems really scary, and this is where women particularly start to lose interest in looking after themselves. Now, if I was to say, if you on here are entrepreneurs, or you have your own businesses, and if I was to say to you, right, it doesn't matter what you've spent, how many thousands of pounds you've spent investing in your business, we need to strip it right back to basics and go to the very start again. If that was on your business, then you would have no doubt and no questions about doing it. When it comes to health, well-being, functionality, and optimizing your health, many women just seem to have this shut off because they feel that they can't be bothered to put in the work and the effort. But if I relate it to a business, or I relate it to your job, if you didn't do what's needed to be done in those circumstances, you A, wouldn't have a job, and you B, would not have a business. So let's think about as your body as being even more important than both of those two, because let's face it, when you get sick, you can't work. Doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. If you're sick, if you're burnt out, if you really can't move, you're in so much pain, you actually can't function. So what needs to happen is we need to take it right back to basics, but keeping it really super simple. Thinking about what are the triggers. So things like genetically modified foods are a massive trigger for many people with gut issues and leaky gut syndrome. So that's because of the pesticides and the chemicals that are used both on the products and within the soils. It's also about the way that antibiotics are used in not only ourselves when we're sick, but also in animals. So they put a lot of antibiotics into animals, especially if you are not a vegetarian, so you don't get the animal products, then you might not be having enough protein either. But antibiotics and chemicals can be up to 30 in animal products, 30 chemicals combined with antibiotics as well. Gluten can also be a huge issue for anybody with leaky gut syndrome, because what happens is the glue of the gluten starts to stick and you can't break it down. So therefore, if you can't break it down, that triggers the inflammation. That then triggers the nutrients and minerals that you're trying to put in, and it stops it. It's like a blocker, so it stops them from getting to the gut, it stops them from getting to the cells, and it stops you from functioning on your optimal level. So as I said before, refined processed sugars, that's a real trigger for inflammation for anybody. That's a candida, bacteria, SBO, which is my brain's gone dead now with all of these words. It's bacteria overgrowth, is SBO. Dairy is another thing, and again, this is where up to 30% of 30 different chemicals and antibiotics can be found in dairy. So dairy's not all bad, and not everybody has intolerances to it. It's about how is it being brought to you, how has it been put in your glass, where has it come from, is it organic, is it pasteurized, has it gone through all of these processes before it gets to you? And then what happens is you don't get it in its most natural form, so therefore your body can't break it down. And remember, one food doesn't necessarily work the same way as another person, so what's right for you may absolutely not be right for another person, but you've got to focus and get in your own lane and work on what's right for you, what's right for your gut. So the food allergies, you've got to think about what is your kryptonite, what is it that you go to, and what is it that's really actually making you very poorly. Can you decipher from any one of those things that I've already mentioned? Sugar, refined carbohydrates, dairy is one of those things, your kryptonite you go to, but you know it's really bad for you. So some of the things that can help you to nourish your organs, and as I said, your body, when you look at your gut, you look at your intestines, you look at your kidneys, you look at your liver, all of these things as well. If you're not able to absorb and you're in a malabsorption process, then your skin starts to take the toll. You can either get really spotty, you can start to have ovarian problems, you can start to have gynecological problems as well if you can't break it down, because basically what also happens is you're not getting the minerals and nutrients that you need, you're also in toxic overload, so your body can't get rid of them. So if your lymphatic system, your kidneys and your liver, which is where it needs to drain from, can't get rid of all these toxins, you become very toxic. This is what can affect your skin, and this is what affects then your brain fog as well. So things that you can do to nourish your organs each and every day are things like bone broth. Bone broth is huge now. It's when I was in America, you can actually get it absolutely anywhere. You can buy it fresh, you can buy it in protein sauces, you can buy it in coffee sauces. It's all around, but it's super easy to make. And the reason it's so beneficial for you, and as we know, it's been around for thousands of years in most countries, it's got proline, it's got glycine, it's got glutamine, it's got collagen. So collagen is what helps to keep the skin together. Proline, glycine, and the L-glutamine is really super important for lining the stomach as well. And it just keeps everything together. It keeps your tissue together. It keeps everything healthy. It's like a super food for your gut health. So, and it's amazing for your immunity. So if ever you got sick and you were always given soup, hopefully fresh, that's why. It's because of all that goodness that comes out of the broth. Now, if you're a vegan or vegetarian, yes, you can get the collagen from certain vegetables, but it's very difficult to get it all that you need from being a vegetarian. That's why we have alternative options on that. So coconut oil is, again, it's amazing for microbiome health, and it also kills off yeast. If you are prone to candida, then coconut oil, adding coconut, bulletproof coffee. Yes, coffee is good as well. It has lots of antioxidants in, but again, listen to your stomach. If your stomach bloats or gets really gastric after drinking coffee, then that's something that you need to remove as well. But coconut oil is amazing. Sauerkraut, kimchi, probiotic foods, again, around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, when I talk about sauerkraut, I'm talking about fermented fruits and vegetables that you make at home, not the things that you get off the store that are pickled with lots and lots of vinegar and usually malt, because remember, malt is gluten. So if you are trying to remove gluten, then the malt in the vinegar of the sauerkraut, that is what is going to aggravate you as well. So sauerkraut, kimchi, healthy probiotics, these are all good, used in Japan, used in Asia, all over the world. They're amazing. Cabbage is great as well because it contains sulfur, so your body needs sulfur. But again, you've got to be careful. If your leaky gut is aggravated by these things in cruciferous vegetables, you could also have one of the autoimmune issues that is hypothyroidism. So if you have a thyroid issue, cabbage, cruciferous are not the best things for you to have, because that can affect your brain fog and can make you feel really tired and lethargic and can create more gas in your stomach. So again, it's got to be really, really super individual to what's right for you. Kefir, or however you want to say it, been around for about 1,000 years now. It was Caracas Mountains, I can't remember how you say it, that's where it was found, and it was it's a culture, so it's a natural culture, really used a lot in Russia, Ukraine, all the Uzbekistan's, also used in Turkey and around there. So kefir is a really good probiotic as well that you can get hold of. Now, it works best, it kind of works and spreads in pasteurized milk. Goat's milk is amazing because goat's milk usually hasn't got all of the chemicals in that you would get from cow's milk. And blueberries, really, really good antioxidants, resveratrol, which is flavonoids as well, which helps with anti-aging. And don't forget, when you have a healthy gut, you're also starting to reverse your aging, because if you have an unhealthy gut and you feel any of the symptoms that we've already spoke about, it starts to weigh you down. If you're not sleeping, then you're stressed, it starts to weigh you down. It starts to take a toll on your skin. So resveratrol and the flavonoids are really super important in fruits and vegetables and fibers. Orange foods, when I spoke about being vegetarian and vegan, orange foods are really good for keeping your spleen healthy as well, because it has the collagen that you need in there. So pumpkin, squash, sweet potato, those kind of things. Okay. So probiotics, we need them in order to survive, and as I've said, we can get them in certain foods, natural foods already. So how do you improve what you need in your probiotics? How many is enough? What's enough? What about other things that you need? Vitamin B12, vitamin K, vegetables, fibers, all of these things, digestive enzymes, all of these things are needed to help you to really improve the health and well-being of your gut each and every day. Yes, we may all have a little slip off now and then. It's not about feeling guilt, it's not about misunderstanding your body, it's about actually understanding your body a little bit more and starting to understand that if something triggers another issue, opposed to just feeling that bloated or full feeling when you have something that doesn't really suit you. It's about, what do I feel like the next day? You know, we're not talking about guilt here. What do I talk? Do I have pain? Do I feel tired? Do I feel almost like I have a complete brain fog? And that's what gluten can do as well. That's what dairy can do. It's about, how do you go to the toilet as well? Are you going to the toilet? We won't go too much into that right now, but how is it for you? Are you regular? Are you not regular? Is it uncomfortable? Is it, you know, there's all of these things to consider when it comes to leaky gut as well. IBS, IBD, if that's one of the triggers for you and you don't go at all, or you go way too much, then that is also a sign of leaky gut as well. So I'm just moving on from here. I've spoken about digestive enzymes. As I said, I took notes because I wanted to be very specific and not lose you all too much. Herbs, so ashwagandha, ginseng, L-GLUTAMINE I've already mentioned, which is an amino acid which helps to protect that lining within your stomach. Licorice is amazing as well. Licorice root that you can get, licorice tea. You can add all of that in. So I'll speak a little bit more about the L-GLUTAMINE as well. It's a crucial amino acid that helps to create that layer in the stomach, that lining. Think about that coffee cup, the glass coffee cup, which has a lining inside. You want to protect it, you want to keep it healthy. You want to really, really heal that gut. It's not a band-aid, it's literally making that lining. It's like creating that foundation. It also helps to boost your energy as well when that is happening, because then nothing can come out. It's not leaking. So it seals your gut and it creates more health, so the good bacteria and bad bacteria can stay where they need to be and not seep out into your pathogens. Type, I've already said that. You need to identify what it is that really triggers it and then note it and try to avoid it. We're focusing on how to have healthy spleen, healthy gut, healthy kidneys, healthy liver, healthy adrenal glands, healthy brain. Chronic issues are, as I've just said, about the bowel movements as well. Making sure that you've got vitamins and minerals. If you're taking vitamins and minerals through supplements but you have leaky gut syndrome, you're not going to be benefiting from them as well. It's about, how do we create a healthier gut and focus on what it is that we really need. So you could have an immune gut diet, which is food sensitivity. So you could have a stressed gut, which the stressed gut affects the thyroid, the adrenal glands, the kidneys, the cortisol, which has been highly affected, the toxic gut. So this is where it comes from, the liver, the spleen, and the gallbladder. So if you've toxic overload and they are not clean and you're not able to move your body and you feel toxic all the time, then that is a toxic gut. So we need to really focus on that. And then we've got a gastric gut diet, which is kind of like an emotional stress. Again, you can get very angry, you can feel upset, you can have mood swings and so on and so forth. So we've got a few gut types on there: immune, stressed, candida gut diet, which is where your sugar comes in and overload on inflammation, a toxic gut, and a gastric gut. Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay, so what I'm going to move on to here right now is the fact that there is so many issues with leaky gut. It really does affect so many people. Now that comes into emotional eating as well, and the emotional psychology of eating and how you eat can trigger what you put in your body and then how it affects your leaky gut. Because if you've had emotional or disordered eating, then you have probably triggered something within leaky gut as well. Whether you're anorexic, whether you're bulimic, whether you purge, all of these things can trigger leaky gut. Stresses, post-traumatic stress disorder, continuous stress disorder over a long period of time, sudden shock, all of these things. It really goes very much to the point where it's brushed under the carpet and we get on with it and we carry on, but it has real implements of long-term health. It can also, as I said, affect your reproductive system. It can also affect asthma, because if your leaky gut isn't functioning properly, then you're not able to get the nutrients that you need and it's clogging. So dairy, gluten, that can affect asthmatic symptoms as well. And I just want to close on one point as well. It's about how we connect with our brain and our gut. So as I said, if you have any signs of leaky gut syndrome, LGS, the vagus nerve, which is the nerve that directly is connected from the back of your brain down into your gut cannot get the messages that it needs. If your stomach, your gut is in a toxic overload and feels that it's not clear, it's not cleansing itself, it's not excreting what it needs to, for want of a better word, then that's what happens to your brain as well. It just gets filled and clogged and can't cleanse and can't think properly, can't have a clear, decisive moment, because you're either trying to do a million and one things, or your brain isn't clear about making those decisions, or you forget what you're doing very often. There's so many things that are directly connected, and that comes down to the gut as well. So that vagus nerve is the direct highway, that passageway that sends the messages. Remember, you've got 80% of your microbiome is in your gut. You've also got the neurotransmitters, the same that's in your brain, in your gut. So these things need to work together. That's why when you have that gut feeling, it's the brain also connecting. It's trying to directly be congruent with what it needs. So I want to just share with you today that I have been through all of these things and I've learned how to undo it. I'm forever learning, and I always want to share the information and grow what I can with you to help you as well. So I hope some of that has helped you, and if you do have any questions, please put it on there. I'm also going to share with you again, because I've extended the dates of the Vibrant in 5 program, and the reason I've extended the dates is because there was lots of inquiries, and I know it's summer holidays. Now, here's the thing. The Vibrant in 5 takes you through the processes of cleansing your gut, of detoxifying, of literally working through what's going to be age-reversing foods that help to boost that collagen, that connective tissue, that help you feel amazing and great about yourself, that help to have that glow in your skin, that also remove when you're having that toxic overload in your skin and understanding why. So the Vibrant in 5 is a 5-week program, and we're going to be starting in just a few weeks, and I've broken it down very clearly into 5 strategies. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. But the week 1 is about getting yourself prepared as well. What do I need? What does my body really need? I need to understand it. I need to break it down, and then we start. And what I've done is I've also broken it down, so it's still at 50% for you guys to go on to here and do it, because this is the first time we've launched it. So you have that opportunity to get it at 50% at $277.50. Now, I know sometimes, and I go back to the beginning of this video, if I was a business coach and I was charging you £3,500 and told you that we need to undo absolutely everything that you've already done in your business and start from scratch, you would probably go, okay, let's do it. So this is $277.50. Still, there is always a resistance about investing in your body, yourself, and your health, and that is how you do everything else. If I'm resisting my body, what else am I resisting in my life? What am I not opening up to being my best self, having that healthy gut, having that clear brain? So when it comes to money of investing yourself in your health, I know that there is a little bit of resistance there. So what I've done is I've broken it down as well for 2 payments. And also, if that is still too much, I've broken it down again to 3 payments. So it's $277.50 for a one-off payment. It's 2 payments of $150, or it's 5 weekly payments of £63.50. So can you still do it if you are traveling a lot in the summer holidays? If you are traveling, I travel all the time, and I make sure that my health, my well-being, and my nutrition is on top level. And what it does, Melanie, it takes you through to understand, what does my body need, when does it need it, and will I do it? So that's the thing that you've got to put into place. Will I? Am I important enough? Am I committed enough? If you're traveling and you're on holidays, let's remember that alcohol can trigger certain elements if you're in a detox phase. So in the first 5 days of that detox, then there would be no alcohol, there'll be no coffee. It's about literally getting super, super clean. I travel with a little blender anyway, and if you're self-catering, then yes, you can absolutely do it yourself. If you're in a hotel and it's going to be an all-inclusive, then you can think about, okay, what fruits and vegetables are going to be available to me? What can I ask them to do alternatively? Is there adaptations? And usually yes, there is. And what's going to happen with you when you sign up and decide that you want to do this, you're going to have lifetime access to it anyway. So I want the start date where we all come together, because part of it is group coaching like this. So you're going to have that support. Unlike opening a book or opening the laptop and you have something where it's just a diet to follow. This is about lifestyle changes. It's about, how do I incorporate this healthy food? How do I make this food? How do I look after myself? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating the right foods that my body needs? Can somebody tell me that this happens when that happens, so therefore I need to remove it? What's my alternative? You have a group coaching call every single week. You have lifetime access to it because it's going to be on a platform where you can just log in at any time. 60 minutes of coaching with me. That's my one-to-one clients get the 90 minutes every week. In a group program, you get 60 minutes each and every week where we just log on via Zoom. So you get the opportunity to ask the questions, share where you're at, share if there's any struggles, share your wins, and really be there to support one another. So as I said, this is the one time that this is going to be at this price, because the next time it's going to be $555, and it's going to be going on. It's about 5 times every year that it will be released. So you get to do this for 50%. So let me know in the comments below if you are ready to go for this one, and I'll share the login details. And if the 5 payments is something that you want, then you need to direct message me, because that option isn't available on the actual website. It is only available if you private message me. So please do ask me any questions. Your gut health is so important. It is 80% of your immune system in there. If you are prone to getting sick, if you are prone to having inflammation, if you are prone to brain fog or any of the other symptoms, cortisol levels, you feel like you've got belly fat that you can't get rid of and you're not quite understanding why, but you're in constant fight or flight and not giving yourself time to just calm yourself down, that is again is creating toxicity in your body. So any questions, pop them in the comments below. I can't see everything that's coming up here right now. And I hope that sounds like something that will really, really help you to step into being your best version of yourself. And that's what it's about. It's about creating the best version of yourself, making the changes that you want, not sitting back and just thinking one day, oh, it's okay for you. Oh, I wish that could happen. I remember it's not okay for me because I've been through everything already, which is why I've created that program, so I can make it as easy as possible as I can for women like you, women who are busy, women who are mums, and women who really want to get the best from their lives. And to get the best from your life, you've got to put the best into you. You've got to start to look after yourself. Remember, Hippocrates, who was born in 365 BC, knew even back then that all disease begins in the gut.